second coming of Christ. Yes, first we know it as this man who was very, who had, let's say, who had found the child for himself and came and spoke to the people. And of course, they did him in because the government, the controllers, the ruling people don't want us to find the truth. Of course they don't, because if we find the truth, we become strong, independent, self-reliant, creative, unique, unusual, living light to ourselves. So, okay, so they had to do this man in. They had to get rid of him because he was speaking the truth from the stand of the child light. He was the Christ child. And so everybody heard it. They saw it. They looked at his light and they said, this man is a holy man. This man is the Son of God. And he is, and he was. But we are all the sons of God. And he said that. But it's like somehow it got put into the religion and rearranged so that then we have to look up to a man and say that he stands between me and God and I can't get there any other way but through Jesus Christ. And that isn't what it really means. It means, yes, I can love Jesus for what he brought, but now we have to find our own. We have to find it within us, and that is the second coming when we realize that that same light that was in this child of God that stood there is the same light in us right here, right now, in this day, in this time, and that's what he came to tell us. It's in you. Of course it was a big cover-up. Well, now I think the cover-up is over. We have got to speak up and tell people it's in each one of us. We can find it, we can do this, and it's time to do it because it's like a big crunch now. The whole world is forcing us to find our inner light and do this. And I think I mentioned it as God calling us, the clarion call. Okay, you have to do it now within you and find that Messiah is your very own light that you have also been given. And we're not left out of this. So that's where we're at. I really feel that's where we're at. I really feel it strongly, obviously.
Yeah, as far as at a personal level, obviously the collective level is a collective reflection of that. When the light shows up, and using the metaphor of the light and the darkness and so forth, darkness has this amazing capacity to turn that light back into darkness, and it'll acknowledge, there was a Son of God, and it was, but only Jesus, basically, and that way it sort of hijacks the message. It makes Jesus the great exception versus the great exemplar, as you said. He was here to show us who we were. It wasn't about him. He was as selfless as you could possibly get. It was about creation, it was about God, and it was about us. But the system, if we can call it the system, subverted that and sort of emasculated the gospel, in truth. And that whole thing about being born again, that's exactly it. We're born in the flesh, and then we're reborn in the spirit by virtue of becoming aware of what we always already are, as the awareness of God, i.e. the child of God or the firstborn of God.
Oh, man, exactly. Beautiful, yes. Awareness, the firstborn of God. That's beautiful. You're right. That's exactly it, because it's God and God's awareness. And we are nothing but the pure light of His identity. I mean, life is the identity of God going on. Man, when we get this, there will be disruption and chaos, because all the false gods, all the things that we have put our sense of authority in, you know, governments and institutions and human education in the sense of how it is nowadays. Now it's just being brainwashed and propagandized when you go to school. I mean, everything is geared to taking us, to keeping us from not seeing the light in ourselves. And boy, when we get a glimmer of this light and know who we are, man, none of the corruption will. It can't stand. It can't stand. It will be powerless, because man will find his own inner ability to live this, and out of this will come, wow, such a powerful dynamic to know who we are. This will create a new world, because when each finds his own, I mean, I noticed that even just for me in my own little life, I have the freedom to be much more creative, and the child can see the bigger picture. So it's almost like you get this vast view of the totality of all things. And I suspect, you know, like, let's say if a scientist discovers the child within, think of the inventions he could invent, and they're always, the beauty is it will be for good, you know. It won't be for control and for oppressive or power trips. And when you find this light, and I'm just thinking everybody has his own unique expression of it and his own God-given gifts. So can you imagine what the inventions and what the creativity and the bounty of just the expression of this light as each one of us finds it in our own, as our own childlikeness, and expresses it from that. I mean, we really would change the world. And of course, the powers that be, they don't want anything changed. They've got, you know, they're sitting at the top, you know, with their feasts of bread and honey, and we're all down, you know, working to pay for it. It's like, okay, the jib is up, or however they say that. The
jig.
time is, you know, it's over. It is being revealed, and we are seeing the corruption and the dishonesty, but you can't just see the corruption and then hate it. You have to find the child. Otherwise, we got nothing more than a whole nother set of problems. But we got to find the child, and that's what you and I are sharing for, so that this can happen. Or at least we can help a little bit, or mention it, or help people recognize it.
Well, it's sort of just that title, Glimmering Sparkles of the Living Light, is just, you know, sharing the, from my perspective, the glimpses and glimmers that Bill talks about to complete the equation and the cycle. And in your case, your glimpses are the whole thing at one time, as sort of what I can tell from your speech. It's just a matter of expressing it. The other thing that comes to my mind, what you were describing there, is a term I've heard. It's called the light of 1,000 suns. That idea of light, and more light.
Yeah, that's it. It's like every ray, every person, when he makes that divine connection to his child, the Christ, the light of his true identity. When you make that connection, you're like directly in contact with the higher power, with God's grace, and then can you imagine the sunshine? Can you imagine the beauty of this world? I mean, it's beyond what we can even. It is beyond what we can imagine. And it isn't just, oh, heaven on earth, we're all going to, you know, play harps. It's like we're really going to be industrious, you know, really be inventive, really be creative, really be making a beautiful world. I mean, it's so much fun to build and to make and abundance and if you're doing that from love, it's extraordinary. extraordinary to see what happens. I mean, this would be a new world. It would be an absolutely new world, and it wouldn't be everybody just quiet. It would be, and it wouldn't be solemn. It would be truly industrious. I mean, I think that's, like in a really prosperous kind of joyful. We love people. Our heart wants to build and create. I mean, there's such a joy when you're a little boy, when you're a little girl, and you're building a little. You're making, even just playing with blocks and building a Lego set, or building a paper airplane, or building or making little. I used to sew dresses for my dolls, and I'd get my little needle and thread out, and I'd put little buttons on them, and I made little outfits for my dolls. How adorable. And this is innate in us to be productive, to create, to move forward and express ourselves. And I mean, nothing would stop. It would be like let loose. It would be like what a rush of power when we do this. That's what I see. That's my vision.
The interesting thing, you get into the philosophy of it's anthropomorphic to project such motives on the Godhead, but it's divine self-expression from the inside out, where the whole creation becomes a canvas in which God is painting, and each of us is being developed as a particular unique brush or expression of a way of expressing one of those qualities and attributes that could not otherwise be expressed. So we all have an exact part to play in the grand scheme of things, or the story of life. And the other thing that calls to mind is years ago, if anybody hangs around church very long and they say you got to tithe, you got to give 10%, and it's sort of like you got to give to get, and that's a divine statement, and it makes a lot of sense if you really see what it means. But to the mind, I get by giving, that doesn't make any sense at all to the mind. But if you're a tube and a vessel through which divine life, light, and love and energy is to flow and express, and the world convinces you you're really a container, so now you close the bottom off the tube and now you're a cup, and then they tell you got to get yours and you got to keep it, and you put your hand over the top to save it. You cut yourself off from what otherwise would be an infinite divine flow of life, light, and love, and of course energy, when it's still, stagnates and decays and so forth. So that now you got to clean it out and so forth, and so it's sort of like to give is a divine pump priming. You let some of it go, it opens up the flow, and as you open further and further, and you strangle the tube less and less with your fear and your doubt, that you become, how should we say, you take on a limitless capacity for divine self-expression at any given moment and point in time and space.
Oh my gosh, Rich, you said it. Wow, that was beautiful. Yes, exactly. That was so neat. Oh my gosh, you brought tears to my eyes. That's beautiful. That's it. That's exactly it. Totally open-ended, totally allowing the flow. And the moment you give, you start to give, and all that you just expressed, that's it. That's the glory. That's it. That's living it.
The other thought that just came to mind, this is Easter weekend. And I think we just did a Sunday morning service here.
Oh my God. No kidding. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh my. It's funny, I call you up with a specific objective. That was the only intentionality I have to take care of an operative procedure, and the next thing I know, it's taken over.